The following is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
The Mile in the Desert, Phoenix International Raceway. For 32 years, this has been a crucible that helped forge the great champions. Today, the Indy Racing League drivers wait for their chance and a shot at the historic path to the 80th running of the Indy 500. Men like Buzz Calkins, the winner of the Indy 200 at Walt Disney World, or Richie Hearn, the fastest in the open test here. What about Tony Stewart and has come from the back to second place run in the IRL's first race? The IRL is only 2 races from naming its first league champion at the Indy 500. The Indy Racing League is ready for a duel in the desert in the Dura-Lube 200. This is the midway behind the main grandstand here at Phoenix International Raceway. I'm Paul Page on an absolutely gorgeous day as we're ready for 200 miles around this 1-mile oval. And the teams here are extremely excited because in a few minutes when they take the green flag, 25 IRL drivers will have started an IRL event, and there are 25 positions reserved for the IRL in this year's Indianapolis 500. So, assuming they make the minimum yet to be announced qualifying speed, they're in the big show, the greatest spectacle in racing. Now, it's about time for the start of the engine, so come on, let's go inside.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Aerial bombs fired off overhead. The engines start down on the straightaway. The stillness of the desert is broken. And up and down the line, 22 Indy cars are ready to go racing, Gary Gerald.
A rush of adrenaline, Paul, and here's what the Indy Racing League is all about. A classic example, front row. Here's an established Indy 500 champion, a man who's won here at Phoenix International Raceway, Arie Luyendyk from the pole with a new track record. And just fractions of a second off his pace at nearly 184 miles per hour. Here's a newcomer to this sport from the Toyota Atlantic Series, the defending champion there, Richie Hearn. Had tough luck in the season opener at Orlando, looking for better fortune today. Jack?
Gary, that parallel is paralleled right here in the second row as well. 87 winner here at Phoenix. Roberto Guerrero starts third, and flanking him on the outside, another rookie, Tony Stewart. Now, where was Tony Stewart 1 year ago this weekend? In his garage just outside of Indianapolis, preparing his USAC sprint car for Eldora, Ohio.
And Bobby, this place is really physical. When I drove here, we'd pull 5.5 G's in the corner. That's like 5 guys trying to push on the side of your head, trying to push you out of the car. And that's twice a lap for 200 laps.
Well, not only that, it's the fastest 1-mile oval in the United States. 2 new records this weekend, 183 miles an hour average, 200 miles an hour down the straightaways. Wide open in turn 3 and 4, just back off a little bit in 1 or 2. Now that's interesting.
It is, and that's why passing is so important here. If your car is working well, you're having a great day. If it's working badly, you've got a long afternoon in front of you because you're always looking in that mirror.
And over half of the field is rookies. Now these guys are good. They've been here in other cars, but not Indy cars. So they're going to find this race today very different for them.
And that's why the question today, is it experience or the enthusiasm of youth that's going to win? Paul?
Well, everybody started now lining up behind a safety car driven by Johnny Rutherford. Nice view of this track, this D-shaped mile in the desert. For the Dura-Lube 200, let's take a look at the starting grid. On the pole is Arie Luyendyk, a resident of nearby Scottsdale. He won here in 1991, alongside Richie Hearn. Unlike the race at Orlando, he starts today in his primary car. Racing is a team sport. The pit crew and drivers here all work together. True Value recognizes that with an award to the pole sitter, Arie Luyendyk's chief mechanic. Here is Chip Leon of True Value with a check for $10,000 to Brad McCandless. True Value, the official hardware store of the Indy Racing League, and garages everywhere. In row 2, Roberto Guerrero, who won here at Phoenix in '87 and still holds the race record, alongside Tony Stewart. In row 3, Scott Brayton and Scott Sharp. In the 4th row, Mike Groff and Buzz Calkins. In row 5, Davey Hamilton and Johnny O'Connell. The 6th row, Robbie Buell and Stefan Gregoire. In the 7th row, John Paul Jr. and Michael Jourdain Jr. Row 8, Fermin Velez and Paul Durant. In the 9th row, Johnny Parsons Jr. and Jim Guthrie. In the 10th row, Johnny Unser, a nephew to Bobby, and Dave Coudray. And in row 11, Michael Alboreto and Lynn St. James. Let's go to Jack.
Paul, 4 drivers involved in crashes on Friday. The first one, Eddie Cheever in turn number 4. The second one, Stan Waddles in turn number 2. Both hit the wall, both suffered from concussions, were not cleared to race today. The third crash involved Buddy Lazier and Lynn St. James and this wing panel off of Buddy Lazier's car. It came delaminated down the front straightaway and flew off the car. Now for Lazier, what happened was he lost the downforce going into turn number 1. Came up and collected Lynn St. James. Both crashed heavily into the corner, exiting turn 2 into the concrete. Lazier is still in the hospital, suffering from a fracture in the lumbar area and a fracture of the tailbone. He's expected to be there for several more days, but he is watching the race. Meanwhile, as you said, getting a backup car from Michele Alboreto, Lynn St. James finds her way to the starting field.
He is in that car 90, Lynn St. James and car 90 at the back of the field. They're aligned now. They're rows of 2, ready to go racing. 200 miles, 200 laps ahead here at Phoenix International. Into the 3rd turn. And the pace very slow from the pole sitter, Arie Luyendyk. Now he begins to accelerate. The rest of the field picks up the throttle with him, watching for the green flag. They come off of the 4th turn. Green flag is out. Here we go. Pulled off in turn 3. We'll identify it in a moment as Arie Luyendyk screams into the lead here.
That's one thing we got to remember about Luyendyk. He is the old timer, the guy that's been here a lot. You can see at the start, Paul, he knew what he was going to do.
Arie Luyendyk followed by Hearn. So the front row stays in order. Now they come to the line. Roberto Guerrero, that is in 2nd place, not Hearn. Hearn actually dropped back. So Roberto Guerrero runs in 2nd. Followed by Tony Stewart and then Hearn.
We're aboard with Roberto Guerrero right here, the white car. See the yellow Pennzoil on the sign there? Another man that's won here before with a tremendous amount of experience.
Both those guys are looking to get out in front. They just want to have a nice clean start, get out in front, and start pacing themselves for this race.
Play to this point, and a good start for Arie Luyendyk. But as you look from down above, from the Goodyear blimp, you also notice already Arie is beginning to overhaul the back of the field. Debris on the track. And we've got a yellow. Car takes a spin.
That looks like it's Buzz Calkins over there off of 2. Doesn't look like he's, can't see if he's made any contact, but he's certainly killed the motor over there. He'll be waiting for a tow.
It's going to be a costly thing if he killed the engine. It's going to have to get towed to get started. Going to cost him a lap or 2, Danny.
So Buzz Calkins, the winner of the first race of the Indy Racing League, is stopped on the backstretch after a spin and possibly some contact. We'll be back.
The Indy Racing League's Dura-Lube 200. This ABC Sports exclusive brought to you by Dura-Lube, increasing your engine's life. Dura-Lube, tomorrow's technology today. Sears, come see the many sides of Sears. Advil, no non-prescription pain reliever is proven to work better than Advil. And Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Back at the Dura-Lube 200 as we take a look at the top of the order after just 5 laps, but a very quick 5 laps that ended with a spin by Buzz Calkins. They finally have that car back under power, and he should be back in the competition. But there's the car under tow, so they should be able to get him started again. Let's take a look at what happened here that got Calkins in this predicament. On the front stretch, heading for turn 1, finishing lap 5.
There he just
lost it. He just got loose. Car just came around. didn't see anything. There was no warning there or anything. And
you could see the car didn't get hit by another one because there's no jerkiness, Danny. He just went around slow.
yeah,
All right, let's check in with Gary.
And Paul, updating that first car that you saw at the back getting out of having a problem, that was the white 96 car of Paul Durant, a modified driver who's had success on this racetrack in the past. In his first IndyCar start, there was contact. You could see black rubber all across the front wing. It actually gouged down into the carbon fiber as it took a chunk out. He came into the pits. They sent him back now onto the racetrack, but he lost, of course, a couple of laps in the process. He is okay, but the crew does not know who the contact was with. Buzz Calkins has just gone by us back on the track now. Let's check in with Jack Arute.
Well, Gary, one of the things that the Indianapolis Racing League wants to try and do is maintain parity between engines. The V8s, normally the Fords, and the V6s, the Menards and the Buicks. So what they did here for Phoenix is they increased the boost from the normal 45 to 65 inches for the Buicks. Now, what's that allow them to do? Actually turn the Buicks for less RPM, but they didn't give the Buicks any more fuel. So the big question mark now is, can the Buick, even though they're turning less RPM, with the advantage of the additional boost, do they have enough fuel to go the distance? For Team Menard, it's going to be literally a crapshoot. They're going to be adjusting the fuel mixture throughout the course of the race. They ran computer modules all last night trying to figure out if the race went this way or that way, would they have enough fuel? And here's what they found out. For Tony Stewart, based upon the computer readouts, he would be able to finish the race and actually run out of fuel on the warm down lap, on the cool down lap. For Scott Brayton, he'd actually come up short by 1 lap. They're going to have to adjust and play conservation all afternoon.
Well, it is going to be a tightrope that they're going to walk. There's Paul Durant, the 96 car that Gary told you about. And, of course, Buzz Calkins just ahead of him on the race course, but not on the lead lap. So as we're ready to go back to green, it'll be Lyondike, Guerrero, Stewart, Hearn, Brayton. And we're green again. Again, Lyondike and Guerrero pull away. Some distance between them and second place. There we'll keep track at the top of the screen of the laps and, of course, the leader and the field behind the leader and the interval back from the leader.
You know, we were talking about earlier, is it going to be the experience that's going to win or these young guys that are really aggressive? Now, right now, you notice the 2 guys in first and second are definitely the experienced ones here.
Looking back to the fight for third place, Stewart and Hearn. And Scott Brayton pokes his nose in there from time to time.
But I think it's early on, too, Bobby. Of course, we got to see how everybody gets handling in traffic. And, of course, as this track gets a little greasier as the day goes on, we're going to have to see whose car's working well under those conditions.
Another thing right there, you see the green car that looks, that's Tony Stewart's car now. That's a Menard engine. Now, that's the one that Jack just talked about that's going to use quite a bit of fuel. They have a tremendous amount of horsepower, estimated 1,000 horsepower. Just imagine that for a little bit of what it feels like in Phoenix. Down the straightaways, we said 200 miles an hour. Almost.
That yellow and green car, number 20, that, of course, is Stewart. He's being chased by Hearn. Battle for third place. Lyondike and Guerrero up at the front of the field. Car on the pit road one more time.
And as we saw, they were already into traffic.
And that's Lynn St. James that you saw peel off and head down the pit road. So very early on, she is in. Of course, she's in a car that they acquired right at the last minute after that somewhat spectacular and frightening crash that we had here in turn 2. And now Lyondike begins to move on slower traffic around the red car, Michele Alboreto.
Hardly any wind today. Lyondike is very fast down the back straightaway as well as the front straightaway.
And nice air temperature in the 70s. Very pleasant here. Should be great for the engines to breathe. Now looking back, second place, Roberto Guerrero, that white car, and there's Stewart. Just behind him, you can see the power of that engine on the straightaways.
Oh, he just moves right up on that Ford Cosworth engine there. Of course, you got to remember, 1,000 horsepower gives probably 800 horsepower, but less RPM.
So Stewart on a challenge for second place, tries to poke it down inside of Roberto Guerrero, coming off of 2. And here comes Hearn joining the fight as well. So Hearn charges on Stewart while Stewart's trying to get Guerrero. They're all running through slower traffic now.
Now watch this. There's the
on board
Cosworth.
Guerrero.
There's a Cosworth engine. You need to watch the Cosworth against the Menard, which is the old Buick engine, redone and everything. And see the difference in the horsepower, straightaway versus the turns. Now, often the Buicks, the Menards, have a boost control. They can just screw it up and really go. It makes it very difficult for that, kind of the yellow and black car behind to pass in the straightaways. That's Richie Hurt. He's going to have to do it in the turns, Paul.
Second, third, and fourth, all right together again. Not to make it indicate when you said screw it down. It's really a computer system that changes the entire fuel mapping system on these cars.
Yes, but they can change the boost.
Let's go to Gary.
Paul Durant in the 96 car behind the wall now. What happened on that opening lap, Paul?
Well, you know, I'm not real sure. It happened pretty quick. The pace was a little bit slower than what I had anticipated, and I think I just got on it a little bit too hard. We hadn't really practiced starting from that slow of a speed, and I think it just bit me.
Do you have any idea who made contact with your nose? The rubber mark all across that nose.
No, I have no idea.
Thank you. Paul?
Paul Durant marked as the first one out of the race. Nothing changes at the front of the field. Ari Leyendijk is still leading over Guerrero, Stewart, Hearn, Brayton, and Scott Sharp. Robbie Buell sits in 7th. He's moving up pretty good. Mike Groff is right behind him in 8th. Johnny O'Connell and then Stefan Gregoire round out the top 10 here. Almost a move there on Guerrero. Not enough. Still traffic line just ahead of the leader. So Ari's having to poke his way through. We'll be back as we roll the laps off here in Phoenix. You remember Tony Stewart's spectacular run to the front at Walt Disney World? Well, he's managed to do it again. First, it was a move for second place as he charged down on top of Roberto Guerrero. Now Stewart's that guy down on the inside of the white car in the yellow and green machine. Hearn tried to close in but couldn't get it done. And then it was Ari Leyendijk that was the next target. And Leyendijk, look at him, he'll just throttle out a little bit and then get a run on him down the front straightaway, and Stewart takes the lead of the race.
Once Leyendijk opened up that giant door, Stewart went right for it, went through it.
Well, I think what we're seeing, though, is that Leyendijk's car had gone away. You could see him. He had to come out of the throttle, go up high. The car was obviously pushing, and Stewart just got a run on him. And obviously his car's working very well in traffic right now.
Also, Danny, the Menard engine has a tremendous amount of torque. So he was able to cut off low in the corner where Leyendijk has to keep his high to keep his momentum up.
That's right. But something that's interesting, y'all were talking about earlier, was that boost to being able to turn it up and down and so forth, and the fuel mixture. I want to see how long Tony Stewart can run. If he's got that additional horsepower right now, he might not be able to run it that long because his fuel is marginal.
Well, Guerrero now back in 4th place. Jack Arute, does he have a problem?
Yes, indeed, Paul, he does. One of the bugaboos that'll affect you here on a 1-mile oval. His brakes have gotten red hot. They're actually so hot that he's had to back off just a bit. He radioed to his crew. He's going to have to nurse the car for a few laps.
Well, that's interesting. It's not as hot as Phoenix normally is, and Guerrero suffering that problem. By the way, leading that first lap, not usually a good omen here at Phoenix. Only 2 times in the last 20 races here has the leader of the first lap gone on to win the race. Looks like it might be striking once again, and this time striking at Ari Leyendijk. Lynn St. James out of the race, Jack?
That's scary, Paul, and as it turns out, a very tough weekend for Lynn. Tell us about track conditions the short time you were out there. Is this an ideal day for Phoenix?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's perfect out there. It really is, not just for Phoenix, but any racetrack. It's clean. I mean, it's smooth. It's perfect. There's no oil down. You know, we've had a lot of races here going on the weekend. Sometimes it starts to deteriorate by race day, but it's perfect out there.
Well, hopefully the bad luck's gone. Good luck at Indianapolis.
Thanks very much.
Car in trouble over on the 3rd turn as we watch Stewart, and there he is against the wall. That looks to be, oh boy, bad news. After the great run, too.
Michael Jourdain.
He had a wonderful run going. Was staying with the traffic. Young kid, 19 years old, nice guy. I don't see any movement. So
he's sitting awfully still, Paul. It's not a good sign.
Here, yellow flag is out now. There he moves.
The fire in the back is not a problem. That's just very small, not dangerous.
Whoa!
Guerrero
and Stewart right there.
Looked like they got tangled up trying to slow down for that yellow. Somebody obviously moved on it. Roberto's really upset right there.
That was not very smart. Those guys should have known where the accident was. They should have slowed way down before they got there. It looks like the radio guys in the pits, like the pit would have told those guys that their problem was at number 4 turn.
Yeah, that's Feline, I believe. Feline Velez. You know, this is his first time in a car. He probably doesn't have a lot of experience with the yellow.
Let's take a look at what's happened here to bring out our second yellow of the day. This is first Jourdain's situation.
Looks like he just touched in there.
Like a little bit of wheel contact, he spun and hit the wall, boom. Now the car's still going, that fire again is just back where the turbocharger is, no big deal. But it's obviously hurt him a little bit. He's stunned, even if he isn't hurt.
Well, there is the USAC safety team up working on that car, taking their time, which is as it should be during a rescue. Now, then after that, and after the yellow was out, here was Guerrero. He just got nailed from behind.
And that's just inexperience there. They didn't slow down for the yellow. They're running too fast. Didn't know where the accident was exactly. Came in a little too hot. Guerrero was slow. Boom, right in the back.
Yeah, but Guerrero slowed down, Danny.
Guerrero was. I know. But Velez, I don't think he had the experience. Was going too slow. And then
let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Tony Stewart, your leader, is on pit road, and they have got a problem with the air jack. It still isn't operating, and nobody seems to be concerned about it. They don't realize that it's not in. Tony Stewart, a lengthy stop. Thank goodness it's under caution. They finally get it. The wheels come off, and Jourdain is coming out of the car now, so that's good news. But this is a lengthy stop for your leader. His teammate, Scott Brayton, goes by. They have yet to change the right front. Now, they practiced pit stops all morning. Team Menard did. And Larry Curry was not at all happy with how it was going. A slight fire coming out one of the side pods, but they've doused it with water. This seems like ages, guys, to be sitting on pit road. Now, to maintain the emotional integrity and not stall the car. It was close.
So Tony Stewart on lap 35 under the second yellow comes in what had to be a disastrous stop. We'll return with more of the Indy Racing League's Dura-Lube 200 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Back at the Dura-Lube 200, these aerial shots courtesy of the Goodyear Blimp Eagle based in Carson, California. Today's pilot, Joe Chamberlain, floats so lovingly and beautifully over the track here. Don't forget tonight, right here on ABC, You Are the Stars in an hour of America's Funniest Home Videos, followed by an all-new Lois and Clark, and then the world television premiere of In the Blink of an Eye, starring Veronica Hamill and Mimi Rogers on the Sunday Night Movie. This movie has one of the most incredible endings you'll see all season, so be here tonight on ABC. Now we're still under a full yellow here, as the original problem was Michael Jourdain. Here is that again.
You can watch it when he's coming down in there. First we thought maybe there was a little bit of wheel contact with that car that's just going by right here, that green and white one, but actually, if we look at it in slow-mo, Paul, there wasn't any contact. It just looks like he went into the turn a little too deep, got loose in the rear end, spun it around, backed into the wall, and there he is being towed off.
Let's go to the pits and Jack Arute.
Now let's tell you in slow motion exactly what happened during Tony Stewart's stop. Do you see this? This is what the vent man has to carry over the wall. He puts the vent nozzle in, and then he has to take this, and you pull it up, and it seats onto a connector on top of the car. It failed to seat. It was a failure. It blew back off, and they didn't realize it had blown off until someone over on this side of the wall tapped the vent man, gave it back to him, and they repaired it.
Here's how disastrous that stop was. He rejoined the lineup in 9th place after being in the lead. Richie Hearn now has the lead over Scott Sharp and Johnny O'Connell. So 39 laps complete. We are still under yellow in the Dura-Lube 200.
Back in Phoenix on pit road, Roberto Guerrero sits and waits. The crew is working on the brakes that were red hot on the right rear side. They were inflamed when they pulled the wheel off. They had to dig out bent metal to engage the starter. It didn't look like they could even do that at first, but he waits patiently. It's been a horrendous past 4 or 5 minutes for Roberto Guerrero. Paul?
Well, Guerrero, who still holds the race record here, Richie Hearn, is the 8th driver now to lead in an IRL race. And, of course, these guys pumped because they're on their way to the Indianapolis 500. We're ready to go green, and Richie Hearn gets it in trouble. Richie Hearn spins it around.
Man,
coming off of turn 3, so we won't be going green quite that fast.
That's going to be first place to last place again, or not necessarily last, but way back as far as the leaders are concerned.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's no good luck being in the lead. Leyendijk was there. He's back in 6th now. And then, of course, Stewart took it over, had that long and terrible pit stop, and now Hearn just loses it as he's getting ready to come back.
He tried to warm his tires up and light the turbocharger, and he just spun it right around.
Here it is. Not yet, of course, even moving.
No, you know what?
Speed.
You can see it right there. He's just going slow and just stands on the gas. He tries to jump the start and just, you know, tires weren't hot enough and going.
He had his left foot on the brake. He had the turbo pressure up, and he let go of it and spun it right out.
And that gives the lead over under yellow to Scott Sharp, who will be back with more from Phoenix.
Too late now.
Richie Hearn has lost 3 laps, about to lose the 4th one. What was the reason for the problem, Gary?
He indicated to his car owner, John Della Pena, on the radio that there was debris and oil or fluid on the track. Della Pena warned him. He said, I'm not sure about the tires. Be cautious. Obviously, he was too aggressive, or that's what apparently the video shows. And so he has got himself all kinds of woe and has lost now another lap to the field. Let's go to Jack.
Gary, in 1964, the first race was held here at Phoenix for Indy cars, and this man, A.J. Foyt, won it. Now, today, you've got cars in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd place, A.J.
Well, the biggest thing, we just want to make the sponsors happy and have a good, clean race. May the best man win. It's still a long ways off.
What did you tell your drivers, Sharp and Hamilton and, of course, Mike Groff, about Phoenix?
Well, I say may the best man win, and the biggest thing we're going to is Indianapolis, and that's what we're looking forward to.
3 cars at Indy. For this man, a 4-time winner.
Now, there you saw the 1st place car of Sharp. There's the 2nd place car, Mike Groff. And the 3rd place car, Davey Hamilton. 1, 2, and 3, A.J. Foyt at the moment.
And I think what we're seeing here is, like we talked at the top of the show, the rookies, a lot of inexperience here. This guy Richie was being towed in, let go of the rope too soon, didn't get all the way to his pit, lost another lap. Another guy under the yellow. You know, just inexperience.
I wonder why Danny couldn't get it started with the tow rope. That's what bothered me the most. He obviously doesn't have an engine problem.
Well, I saw the same thing, though, with Buzz Calkins. I'm not sure they knew they could do that. Maybe they didn't try to jump start. Buzz got towed all the way around, went in and fired it up.
All right, so you saw Richie Hearn get back into the fight, but it's going to be at least 4 laps behind the lead of the race. Of course, you can make that up pretty quickly here. And a long time under the yellow. We should be back to green flag at the conclusion of this lap. It'll be Scott Sharp at the front of the order. There are the current standings here in the Dura-Lube 200. Beautiful day at Phoenix. Bright blue skies overhead. Temperatures relatively down in the 70s at start of the race. And now the speed begins to pick up as Scott Sharp brings him back to the green flag.
Got a big jump on him right there, Paul. A real big jump.
Look at that.
Again, I think you see experience there. Scott knew to get up and go. Some of these guys are rookies and very fast, but they're just not in tune with the way to start a race. Now, some of them been run sprint cars modified long enough, they should be better than that.
And there is Hearn on the fly as he'll try to get through the field, but he's got several times to come around to get back in the front. He's certainly capable, though. Good traffic driver.
Actually, a very, very fast race driver. He just makes a mistake occasionally.
Well, he's just going to have to keep his head, just go as fast as he can, and hope for the brakes in the traffic to get those laps back. He's not going to do it. He's not going to get 4 laps back just by speed.
Scott Sharp pulls out the lead by 4.1 seconds. See one car throw up a little oil dry. That was Guthrie as he got down low there. Now back to the leader of the race, Scott Sharp. And blue and white number 11. You know, it's always interesting to me here how intimidating this place can be to a rookie. I mean, I've seen some great race drivers come here, and boy, this place, they look around and they run in traffic and they say, whoa.
Let's keep in mind also on that, Paul, that this racetrack hasn't had enough laps on it yet to even be slippery. when we get up around 150 laps out of the 200 that we're going to have today, it's going to be pretty slippery out there.
51 laps complete now. Scott Sharp, who finished 9th in his only previous appearance in an IndyCar at Phoenix in 1994, is the leader of the race. But now he begins to encounter traffic just ahead. Second place is now a full 7 seconds back. Arie Luyendyk, he runs in 3rd. He's managed to move up a bit. You look just behind Arie here. Scott Brayton begins to come into the fight.
That's Arie Luyendyk, the red and white car that we're watching right in the center of the screen there. Again, an awful lot of experience here at Phoenix. We would expect Arie to not make any of the mistakes. If his team is up and working good today, he should be in good shape. There's Tony Stewart trying to come back.
Stewart comes around his teammate Brayton. You notice, too, that black and silver car, 45, that's Ronnie Buell. And he now sits up in 4th place. So for a second there, it was Brayton, and then Buell just came around the outside, and Buell now runs in 4th place. So it's Sharp, Groff, Luyendyk, Buell, Stewart, and Brayton. And there is Buell closing on the back of Arie Luyendyk. The red and white car is Arie.
Obviously, Arie's having problems. His car is just not up to speed, as Danny said a little bit earlier. We don't know exactly what it is, but I should have thought they would have made some adjustments during the pit stop. He'd have come out a little bit better. There's Tony Stewart, just on a train, on a roll moving.
So Stewart trying to take 4th place away from Buell. Don't forget, though, Buell knows what he's doing. Finished 3rd at Orlando.
Yeah, but he's got twice the problem. He's trying to figure out a way to get around Arie Luyendyk, but he's also trying to hold off Stewart. So he's looking in both places, front and rear.
He better just look to the front, not worry about the guy behind, because it looks like he's going to go by anyway, Danny.
Stewart tries to get inside of Buell. Update on Stewart, Jack.
Well, Paul, remember upstairs what we told you about Tony Stewart and Team Menard. They are trying to run a fuel conservation race. So that requires that he's smooth on and off of the throttle. It's kind of like when you're out on the highway and you have one of those digital readouts in terms of fuel consumption. He can't stab the throttle. That's why he's got to be very careful coming up through traffic, because even if he gets to the lead and he's done it by mashing the gas, he won't have enough fuel to finish.
Well, let's just ride with him and listen for a moment here. See how he works the throttle. Open up Stewart's two-way radio with the pits when we can. Listen to his communications with his chief, Larry Curry.
You can hear the Menard engine doesn't turn the RPM that the Ford Cosworths turn.
Bobby driving, it's really difficult, especially in traffic, to drive with a smooth throttle, because so much of what you do with the throttle is dictated, just like we saw right there with what happens to the car in front of you.
And there he goes around Robbie Buell. So Stewart, who fell back to 9th, now in 4th place as he tries to work his way back to the lead.
And just keep in mind again with Stewart, that's the Menard engine we're on board with right there. Now, he knows that they're going to use too much fuel in this race. He knows that he's 4 laps down. He knows he's got to pick it up. He also knows, remember, the fuel's going to be a problem. Speed costs fuel.
Tomorrow night is Oscar night on ABC. It's the movie's biggest night, the 68th Annual Academy Awards, live starting at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, and 6 Pacific. In an all-new Oscar night Barbara Walters special with Demi Moore, Richard Dreyfuss, and Annette Bening. That's before the Oscars in most of the country and right after on the West Coast. It's Oscar night tomorrow on ABC.
There we are aboard with Tony Stewart again, aboard with him. You can watch him. There he is in the green car. Looks like a two-tone green car. He's got a good pattern.
Right ahead of him, Arie Luyendyk, 3rd place, early leader of the race, the red and white car.
Now, Tony should just annihilate him. Excuse me, Danny. Tony has got to not wait to pass him, which again is going to cost him fuel. But you can see him moving up on Luyendyk pretty quick.
That's right. But remember, that's for 3rd spot right there. He's still on the leader lap. He's going for this. He's trying to get up and get in that clear air so he can conserve fuel.
So twice in just 2 races, Tony Stewart has proven his ability to run through the traffic. What about Arie Luyendyk, though, Gary?
Well, you gentlemen up there were exactly right. He has some handling problems, and is seemingly always the case at Phoenix. And Danny and Bobby, I know you can relate. As the sun beats down, the track conditions change. Cars have a tendency to go loose. A little tougher to steer through the corner, or they just want to get away from you. That's the problem that Arie Luyendyk is facing right now as he tries to hold off the on-rushing Tony Stewart.
Well, that's what makes it interesting, because it looks like Tony Stewart is handling very well, but he's having to be conservative on the fuel, and Arie's the complete opposite. He can use all the fuel he's got, but he doesn't have very good handling.
Theoretically, Luyendyk can't run out, Danny.
That's right.
All trying to work around Stefan Gregoire as you're back on board Stewart. The report from the A.J. Foyt pits is he's going to try to go to the 89th lap. We just crossed over the 67th lap. Scott Sharp still the leader of the race. Luyendyk sits back in third. Mike Groff is second. And you will have noticed that Robbie Buell in the silver and black car has been hanging in there right behind Tony Stewart. So 68 laps complete. Scott Sharp has almost a 2-second lead. We'll return with more of IndyCar Racing League's Dura-Lube 200 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Well, we're back at Phoenix, and we are under yellow as a result of a tag with the wall in turn 4. Scott Brayton, car number 2. Now, on the two-way radio, they asked him if he was all right. He has not answered, and the USAC safety team is there ready to help out as best they can. Here it is in replay. Bobby, you said the back end just jumped out.
Yes, we were on commercial, so I was watching out to see what was going on. My eyes just happened to be on Scotty, and it going through the turn in normal place, and it just jumped out really quick, backed right into the wall. The car doesn't look all that bad, but he's not moving too fast.
Boy, John Menard not having the best weekends. Gary Gerald?
Paul, not 30 seconds before he actually made contact with the wall, I asked John Menard how the car was working, and he said, as the leader comes in onto pit road now, Menard indicated that Scott was having a problem with push, whereas other cars have been going loose. His car was pushing. Whether or not that had anything to do with the accident, I don't know. His teammate, meanwhile, Tony Stewart, has just rolled by us into a pit, and they make the usual change as they'll top off with fuel and get a fresh set of Firestone tires on the number 20 car.
Robbie, what do you think?
Well, it wasn't a push that caused that one, that's for sure. So that also could indicate that he could have had a sudden deflated tire, which meant run over a piece of metal. There's been a lot of accidents down there.
Tony Stewart stalled. Tony Stewart stalled it. Now they're holding him to get him out.
Trying to
Still
get
haven't turned it over.
Come on, he's got. Now he's going to go to the back of the pack again.
Oh,
now he's got to find his way all the way through that traffic.
It's going to be doomsday for them pretty soon. They're
It almost sounds like he's having trouble getting the right gear going out of there. You know, just because it doesn't pick up.
Remember when Danny, can you remember when you started?
Oh, yeah.
Revving up high enough, you let the clutch out too fast, those kind of things.
Yeah.
But he's having that problem today.
You know what I'll say about Skies too, if he was having push, which for everybody at home, that means the front end's not working. If you're turning your wheels and it's not turning the car the way you want it to. And as you know, Bobby, sometimes you can get enough push in the car that it jumps to loose. Because you fight it and you try to get it turned down and you stand on that throttle. But I didn't see what it goes. You just said it went away.
Well, they got Scott Brayton out of the car. He was moving his hands around, didn't appear to be in any great distress. Of course, they're taking great care. Anytime you bounce off a concrete wall at these speeds, you want to protect the neck. Dr. Henry Bach, medical director of Indianapolis Speedway and the Indy Racing League, is here, and so he'll head off to the hospital, and we'll get an update as soon as we have it. We're under caution once again. Arie Luyendyk picks up the lead in this caution with the stops, Gary Gerald.
And Larry Curry with double concerns. I know they're keeping an eye on Scott Brayton, of course, as they get him out of the car. Tony Stewart having a problem getting out of the pits. Is there something wrong with the gearbox at all?
Well, the first time on our first pit stop today, we had a problem with the air jack hose, and luckily that was on a yellow. That time he stalled it. We was lucky that was on a yellow, but the reason he's having a little problem, we're running the thing so lean that
Trying to save
conserve
fuel, right?
because of the rate we burn fuel with these new boost regulations, that it's given us big problems leaving the pits.
All right, that's the story that pertains to Tony Stewart. They continue to work with Scott Brayton here. Tough day for the Menard Club thus far. Jack?
Gary, we watched Scott Sharp, our current leader, when he came into pits for A.J. Foyt. And all of the teams we talk about when a car is loose, here's what Team Foyt did to Scott Sharp's car. They did one, they did two, they did 2 turns in each end of the wing. Now, what does that do? If we can get the camera to get real close here, we'll show you what it literally does. A turn will change the angle of attack on this wing. And guys upstairs, when you've driven a car, you know sometimes when you come on a pit road, you're begging for a turn if it's really loose.
Well, that's true. We are always looking for to fine-tune the car. If you got a little push, you put a little bit more wing in it. If you got it too loose, you probably take a little bit of it out. But you're always trying to tune the car to the conditions.
Strange colors for an A.J. Foyt car, blue and white. That, of course, is the car of Scott Sharp. The leader is Arie Luyendyk.
The Indy Racing League's Dura-Lube 200. This ABC Sports exclusive brought to you by Dura-Lube, increasing your engine's life. Dura-Lube, tomorrow's technology today. Prime Star, mini dish satellite entertainment with no dish to buy. True Value, official hardware store of IRL and garages everywhere. And Oldsmobile and your authorized Aurora retailers.
The Indy Racing League at the Dura-Lube 200. There is the leader of the race, Arie Luyendyk, started on the pole, led early. Saturday at 3 o'clock Eastern Pacific, ABC's Professional Bowlers Tour sails to sunny Florida for the Comfort Inn Classic. Then it's the first major of the year for the LPGA, the Nabisco Dinah Shore. Don't miss all the action Saturday here on ABC Sports. We should get a green flag next time by. And we'll take a look at the leaderboard. But Danny, Scott Sharp fell from the lead back to 4th place during those stops under yellow.
Well, I can't understand why he didn't stop first time by. He comes in a couple of laps later. I just don't know why he didn't go, unless they told him not to in the pits.
They didn't tell him to do it, Danny. That's what radios are for.
That's right.
Let's go to Jack. Jack.
Well, I got the answer as to why, because his teammates Davey Hamilton and Mike Groff had pitted the lap before. They were congested. Now we're getting ready to go to the green, and Davey Hamilton's on pit road with an electronics problem.
So Davey Hamilton still struggling with a problem that showed up just a few minutes ago. Back at the front of the field, Luyendyk, Buell. Luyendyk, the leader of the race. That's not a pass that matters. That's passing a slower car in the field. Luyendyk still the leader.
In the red and white car right there in front.
Watch for the silver and black car of Robbie Buell. Just back a bit, there he goes.
Who was the leader, who just came in too late, as Danny said, came out too late. Remember, first in, first out, last in, last out on these pit stops.
That was Sharp. Sharp sits down 4th place. Sharp. Mike Groff sits in 3rd.
But Bobby, that shouldn't have happened. Even why were they in the pits? Why, if he was the leader, he should have been allowed to be the first one into the pits for that stop. How did those guys get in front of him?
There is the black and silver car. 2nd place, Robbie Buell, as he has a slower car to handle up before he can go in pursuit of this red and white car that belongs to Arie Luyendyk.
We're all wondering, Luyendyk right there in the red and the white, did he get his car fixed? The guys in the pit should be working on it all during the race. We'll have to see if his speeds increase as he goes along here, Paul.
Last lap at 166.2 miles an hour for Arie Luyendyk. 85 laps complete. And we go back now to the battle for 3rd place. Mike Groff and the A.J. Foyt colors, black and orange. And then that is another Foyt car, despite the blue and white colors of Scott Sharp.
Hamilton.
Scott Sharp tries to line Groff up. Into 1. No pass here.
I don't know if they've tuned that car, but Scott Sharp was having trouble in traffic when he was leading earlier, even getting by some of the slower lap cars. So he might still be struggling with his handling.
Pretty equal run for both of them, both averaging 166 miles an hour. Jack Arute.
A tough day for Davey Hamilton. We already documented that it's an electronics problem, but you can't get it fixed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, my second race, I sure would like to finish it. We had some problems in Orlando, and AJ had a great car. You know, not much you can do about those electronics, you know, when they can go out, but, you know, it's great being there.
Davey, you may or may not know, but we were wondering why you and Groff came in before your teammate who was leading at the time, Scott Sharp.
Well, you know, he was in the lead at the time, so I'm sure AJ's pit strategy, you know, I mean, he was up there, we weren't, so I tried to favor Scott as much as we could. And I know we were all together on the racetrack most of the time. It just felt good being out there.
I'll tell you, this guy's a real politician. You never want to countermand AJ Foyt.
Yeah, nice try to save there, Davey. Not too sure.
I don't think anybody bought that one.
I don't think so. He was quickly scrambling to get out of that one.
Now the race isn't over yet, and I'm willing to put my money on AJ on many occasions.
You stick with it, Paul.
Well, certainly he's got a lot of experience around here and a lot of wins. He should know what's going on.
AJ Foyt, the winningest driver ever in an Indy car, wins in both front and rear engine cars. Continuing to watch the battle for third place, Groff and Sharp.
They're staying about the same. They're not gaining, the other one's not pulling away.
Now Sharp lets him know he's there. Not a move for the lead, or not a move for the pass, but certainly lets his presence be felt as they come into traffic. Now Sharp looking ahead to the traffic. Both of them trying to find the rhythm going down into turn 3. Sharp moves to the inside. Nope, not here. That's Michele Alboreto just ahead.
One thing about it, Sharp's going, whoa, he was down there below that white line. One thing about it, Sharp's going to make a very clean pass because that's his teammate, and he certainly doesn't want to do anything wrong in one of AJ's cars. And look who's coming up right behind him trying to find a spot, Tony Stewart.
And he can't wait too long.
The 20 car, you're on board it now. Stewart with that battle. He's around Scott Sharp. Now with that awesome power of the Menard engine, he's around both of them. Sharp comes to the inside of Groff. See if he can hold it. Groff gets caught up behind some slower traffic. And so positions change at the front of the order. It's now Stewart, then Sharp, then Groff.
You can just see the power of that Menard that Tony Stewart uses to get by those guys. Two of them right at once. Turn the boost up a little bit, get the job done, back it off, and save fuel again.
So the battle for third resolves itself in favor of Stewart. Lyondike is still the leader. Robbie Buell is 7 seconds back in second place.
Not only has he got the power, but I think he's very confident in the handle of that car. You go out there and go around those guys, now he's down low. That's a good handling car, Bobby.
Oh, it really is a good handling car. Plus, he has a, whoa, for a while there it looked like he was going to get carried out the wall with Tony Stewart, the two-tone green car right there, the number 20, Quaker State.
And you can see Hearn still trying to work his way back up through the field as he comes in behind Stewart now. But Hearn, of course, down in the order, 4 laps behind the lead in 9th place. The result of that spin as the leader coming back to the green flag earlier. Pulling away from Robbie Buell, Gary Gerald.
You've been tracking Tony Stewart. They just intercepted a radio report from the crew, and they told him as they were nearing the halfway point of the race, let's go after the leaders. And obviously, he's responding. The car's working. He follows orders real well.
Got a glimpse of 4th place. Scott Sharp, blue and white 11 car.
Well, if they're giving him that go-ahead, that means that he's conserved enough fuel under these yellows that they've got enough to the finish. They think there's going to be something else. They've let him go.
Of course, we'd like to see that, wouldn't we, Danny? That we don't want to see yellows, but we want to see where the Menards have enough fuel to race rather than to just sit here and exist.
Exactly. And also, Bobby, as a race car driver, you don't want to be dictated by the fuel. You want to be able to race with what you got.
So we ride on board with Tony Stewart.
You watch his hands.
Now with the clearance to go, right?
Watch his hands. See how smooth he is. He's very sure. He's handling good. Very sure where the car's going to be. He's not working very hard doing this.
Well, that speaks for both him and the car, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. But here's a guy that drives a lot of races. I mean,
hearing the radio just a second there, Jack.
We're talking to Larry Curry. He's the man.
Just keep running her, keep running her.
There you go. You heard what he said. Now,
When I get the RPMs down a bit. 10-4, it's okay.
Larry, how is the fuel situation? Can you give him a green yet?
We're in good shape. We're trying to set these guys up for the end here a little bit. The other two guys didn't pit. We did. We can make it to 130. We'll do one more stop. We'll finish this thing.
Guys? Well, there you get to see Larry talking with his driver. Views of both. As Stewart now going to carry it to one more stop and then to the end of the race.
I started to say a little while ago about Tony Stewart. Here's a guy that runs sometimes 4 races a week. Different types of cars. A tremendously talented young man. Not enough experience in Indy cars to not make a few mistakes that we've seen today. But he's a fast learner. He's so talented that I'm sure he won't make the same mistakes twice. Robbie
Buell closing down on Arie Luyendyk now. Came across the line just a few paces behind Luyendyk.
And Stewart is moving up on the leader. But of course, you never can tell how much of that is being dictated by traffic.
A flash across the line. We're looking for Buell. There he is, as Buell has managed to move into the lead of the race on that lap. So Buell closed a 7-second gap on Arie Luyendyk and got around him going into turn 3.
It's a traffic thing that's going on. But when you get traffic jams like this, they really either help you a bunch or sometimes cost you a lot, like it did Luyendyk there.
So there he is, the silver and black car. Robbie Buell picks up the lead. Luyendyk second. But Luyendyk is right there, as is Groff. Groff sitting high.
Yeah,
all of them right together.
You can see Luyendyk struggling a little bit in traffic. He had to back off there. The car wasn't handling very well. He's in that red and white car.
Boy, look at all this traffic. Exactly what you talked about at the top of the show, Danny. Traffic is so critical here. Gary Gerald?
Well, the woes continue for Arie Luyendyk. They thought they'd made a change that would help the handling on the car in the last time they were in the pits, but it's gone loose again, and he says he has got a real handful, literally. He's hanging on, but already, as you've indicated, Robbie Buell's gotten by him.
And Stewart got around Luyendyk, and then suddenly Stewart slowed down. He's up way high on the course. Buell area is still the leader, and Stewart has a problem. He stays out on the front stretch. I don't think that he just got high. He's
very slow, Paul. Very slow.
So he's bucking down Larry
Bird. The engine broke. Kick at the bottom is dragging. I'll check the left front. Check the left front.
Sounds to me like the tire's going down.
10-4.
That's why he's saying check the left front.
He wanted to go to the pits. He was afraid he was going to run into it. It's the right front that's flat. You can see it right there, the right front.
Is the motor running okay? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But he's got a right front that's flat.
This really cost him. He needed to go to the pits. The pits were there, but he was afraid to cut across that he might hit somebody.
On the marks, on the marks.
Slow down.
Right front, right tire coming. Now we're trying to push. Okay, keep her going, get it lined up.
14.2 seconds on the stop. Very costly. Just after they had made their plan that would have taken them to the end of the race and hopefully victory. So now Stewart falls.
We gotta go do some racing now. Put her back in 5th gear.
That's the way I like to hear a race driver. We're going to have to do some racing now. I like that.
Put her back in 5th and let's go. He fell back to 7th place. Buell still the leader by 6 seconds over Arie Luyendyk.
I've been trying to say for a long time, this guy runs about 4 races a year in sprint cars, midgets, champ dirt cars, and everything. He's so versatile it scares you sometimes. This cat's going to race. Now let's watch it.
He had actually just passed Luyendyk around the outside and moved into 2nd spot. He was going well.
And if I want to know what happens in a tire, hey, there's debris on the track. These tires have no tubes. They're very thin walls. A little bit of metal cuts right through them.
So Robbie Buell at the 113th mile is the leader of the race, while Tony Stewart has to work his way back up through this field for a second time today. We'll be back with more of the Dura-Lube 200. Back at the Dura-Lube 200, we are under green. The leader, Robbie Buell, headed for the pits on the 118th lap. So to carry this car to the checkered flag would be a very long way. It's possible, but somebody's really going to have to do the math on this. Arie Luyendyk, there he is in the red and white car, has picked up the lead of the race. And Scott Sharp coming up, closing in on second place, charging for the lead. Here comes Scott Sharp getting inside Arie Luyendyk, and Scott Sharp has the lead once again.
That was a good pass.
Nice and clean. There comes Hearn. Hearn still sitting back 3 laps. He made up one of them on that yellow and is now in 7th place, 3 behind the lead.
That's a long ways to come back in less than 100 laps. Let's see what happens.
Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Roberto Guerrero, we saw that you were a victim as you got rear-ended there and put you out of this race. Your race car looked like it was good enough to be a very strong contender today. Was that the case?
Yeah, it's really a shame, Gary. The car was handling like a dream, and we're just kind of taking our time. We were hoping for a long race, and unfortunately, it wasn't to be, so we'll have to wait for Indy now.
We look forward to seeing it with you come the month of May. Thanks, Roberto.
Thank you, Gary.
There's the guy that's been so close at Indy so many times. Certainly deserves a win there.
Been
Scott
good
Sharp
here a lot of times, too.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you, the guy for me who's hanging in there is Arie Luyendyk, because it's clear his car's not handling very well. He's slow coming off of 4. That's how Scott Sharp got by him, and so did Robbie Buell early on. But he still seems to be hanging in there in 2nd, 3rd spot.
You notice, Danny, every time he pressures it hard because he's being patched or something like that, we see the rear end jump out. He saves it, and he has to slow down a little bit. But like you say, he just keeps going on that way.
And he keeps hanging in there, and he's probably waiting to make an adjustment on that next pit stop.
Arie Luyendyk, Indy 500 champion, has not had a win since 1991. He won here, also won at Nazareth. So a win would be very welcome. Arie Luyendyk, 2nd place. Gary, is he on his way in?
Yeah, the crew's over the wall. The sign on the wall says Arie in. Buzz Hawkins goes by us on pit road. The crew watches. He's had handling problems, so we'll hang on. They wave their arms. We wait. We see the nose approaching us now. Remember, pit speed limit 80 miles per hour. A veteran who's been in this situation so many times glides it in perfectly on the marks, and the servicing begins. We'll watch with the crew, and we'll see if they make adjustments on the front wings. There's dramatic change on the left front and the right front. Fueling process now complete. 16.9 seconds.
That was wing out. That means that he was loose in the rear end, just like Danny and I have been guessing. They took the wing out of the front, which will tighten the rear end up or make the front end push a little bit more. Now we'll see what that did, if the adjustments are going to work, Danny.
Well, that's right. We might have to wait a little bit because, of course, putting new tires on will help him, too, until everything settles down with that fuel load and those tires get bedded in.
So Arie's stop comes on the 125th lap. Oh, Guthrie in big trouble. Jim Guthrie, the 27 car.
Jim Guthrie.
And that'll bring the yellow out, and that may help Scott Sharp and Mike Groff.
But it'll hurt Arie Luyendyk because he just pitted, he just got back out. Unfortunately, he didn't get to time it with that yellow.
Some of these guys will pit into the yellow. Sharp had to pit into the green. Or Luyendyk, rather.
So both Sharp and Groff, both of A.J. Foyt's drivers, will have the chance now, running 1st and 2nd, to stop under this yellow flag for the 27 car of Jim Guthrie.
From Albuquerque, New Mexico, Jim is. Came out of the Formula Atlantic cars.
And a student of Bobby Unser?
No, I know him. He's
well,
a nice person. That ought to help him a bit.
So Jim Guthrie, single car accident. Let's take a look at what put him in this predicament. He caught the wall entering the dogleg, coming off at 2, bounced her pretty hard, really got a chunk off the car on that wall.
He got the wall just coming right after or off of 2, and the car is almost broke in 2. It's being held together with nothing but cables and things like that. It's for all practical purposes, it broke in 2.
Scott Sharp, the leader of the race, into the pits under this caution. This should be his last stop of the race, Jack.
And Paul, he had a little bit of a problem coming down into pit road. He wasn't being blocked by anybody, but trying to hit the marks perfectly. He got the car cocked a little bit sideways. Mike Groff beats him out of pit road, and now Sharp stalls it. He stalls it. They've got to move it back in the box, get the electric starter, stick it in the back side of the car. Oh, this is terrible for Scott Sharp in Norwalk, Connecticut. He's got it back in gear. It still hasn't fired. Trying to calm everybody down now. Make sure that they get it in properly. They still haven't seated it properly. Oh, A.J. Foyt and Scott Sharp have got to be disappointed about this.
Boy, something's seriously wrong back there if they can't get that set up.
Now you can hear Foyt yelling, push it, push it. Forget the starter, jump start it.
The longer they...
Even Davey Hamilton was over the wall giving him a push. That's what you call a teammate.
So Scott Sharp loses greatly on that stop. His teammate gets around, gets out first.
I think they're still okay. I think they're still okay, though, because he got out there under yellow. He lost a lot of ground, but he's only at the back of the pack.
All right, this is the shot from Buzz Calkin's car of Jim Guthrie's crash. That should be him just ahead, yeah?
Oh. Just losing it right there. You can see the rear end come out. He saved it. Then he couldn't save the second time. Hit the wall right there coming off at 2. And look how close this was.
Whoa.
Calkin has no clue as where to go there.
Figuring out where. But the mistake he made there was that he got it sideways and he overcorrected it and got the nose back, right. And then he couldn't catch it again.
The good news was that Guthrie was able to get out of the car under his own power. We'll return with more of the Indy Racing League's Dura-Lube 200 after this message and a word from our ABC stations. One very angry A.J. Foyt. The officials of the race said, A.J., we're going to bring your cars in for a penalty, both Sharp and Groff, because they came in on a closed pit. And he went down to the line and said, wait a minute, other cars came in at the same time. Let's take a look at this. These are the yellow lights that tell you the pit is closed. And there is Groff. And here is Sharp. I didn't see any other cars at that point, so I'm not sure what A.J. was referring to, but there is no question that those pits were closed by that yellow light when these two cars, the 11 and the 41 of Scott Sharp and Mike Groff, came in. A.J. is still arguing it out with the USAC officials, trying to get them to radio up to the chief steward in race control.
I'm afraid he's going to lose this one. I think he's wrong on this one.
All right, so as A.J. Foyt continues his argument, we look down from high above the track. The Goodyear Blimp Eagle providing the aerial shots today, including some of the race action. Spent over 100,000 miles every year covering major sporting events. We're still under yellow. And that's the leader, Robbie Buell. Mike Groff pulls up alongside of him. Next Sunday at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 Central and Pacific, ABC Sports goes down under with a thunder. Paul Tracy defends last year's win in Surfers Paradise at the Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. That's next Sunday here on ABC Sports. So we've got the caution still out. Robbie Buell is the leader of the race. Some controversy as we look at the race summary of the Dura-Lube 200 after 133 laps. The leader, Robbie Buell, average speed has been badly beaten by yellows throughout the day, but we have had 8 different leaders and 5 different changes, and 4 cautions. Those out after 133 laps of the run: St. James, Durant, Michael Jourdain, Fermin Velez, Scott Brayton, Davey Hamilton, and Roberto Guerrero. So quite a controversy here. A.J. Foyt is always able to propel controversy well. Robbie Buell turns down on the pit road. So Robbie Buell, I assume that this is just a top up and go.
This is, they're going to try to fill it up, put new tires on it, and go the whole distance without another stop.
Gary?
AJ, what's the situation now? Did you get any satisfaction from the official?
No, all I'm getting is like you always get when you're racing hell, same as Richard Childers said, it kind of hacks your ass a little bit, because a while ago we was first and we come in, other guys come, we go back out, we're 5th. So I come in because everybody else come in, but then they wave line tag back, so I don't know. Right now we got to try to make up the time or something.
Now you said something about pulling your guys off the track.
I might do it. I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
Well, who says that competitive fire doesn't still burn with a fury inside A.J. Foyt, Paul?
It's a blast furnace there. Well, Arie Luyendyk is now the leader. You saw Robbie Buell come in, top his tanks up, so the red and white car, Arie Luyendyk, is the leader. Johnny O'Connell, the 75 car, who's currently in 6th place, will be called in for a stop-and-go penalty. He had a pit infraction, and what they will do about Sharp and Groff is simply subtract a lap from their total.
I got to tell you, Bobby, from a racer's point of view, that makes it really tough to know how to race. I think if you're going to get that lap penalty, get it right now so you can go back out and race.
Update on Arie Luyendyk from Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, you know he was complaining about how loose the car was. Here's what they did during that pit stop to try and solve it. They changed the stagger on the tires. What they literally did is gave him a set of tires that during practice for this Dura-Lube 200, Arie said were to his liking. They put them in, changed the stagger, and changed the tire pressures just a little bit. Didn't make any wing adjustments, and they say that should solve the handling problems. And by the way, they're finished as far as pit stops. They can go the rest of the distance.
Well, when Arie won here in '91, he led 129 laps. This is the 4th time today that he's led. Pace car off the track. Arie Luyendyk picks up the pace. Will they run to the finish? 135 laps complete.
Now we're going to have to watch Luyendyk to see if they've in fact made his car better.
I don't know about you, Bobby, but making that many changes always scared me, to make that many changes late in the race.
Well, his competition is falling back so far, Danny, it's not going to be that hard to keep it going if he just stays out of trouble.
That's the key thing, but as we said earlier, he's hung in there the entire time. He's always right there on the leaderboard.
Arie Luyendyk is the leader. They're still posting Scott Sharp in 2nd place. But of course, if they subtract that lap, he's in trouble. Robbie Buell, currently 3rd place, will actually be the 2nd place runner.
I've always thought a stop-and-go penalty should have been what they would have done for something like that. Subtracting a lap later on kind of changes everything right now, changes the way the race is, and I think Danny brought that up a little while ago. Penalties should be assessed at the time, not later.
Well, and also because it changes your strategy. Something might happen later on that you could get that lap back or make the ground up, but if you don't have that chance...
And everybody else's strategy, that's the biggest problem right there, Danny.
Well, what I'm not clear upon is the report was that they would subtract it at the end of the race. Yes. After the run is done.
That doesn't seem, I've never heard of that before.
I've never heard of it either, and it makes it very difficult to race.
Yeah,
for everybody.
We'll go for a clarification on that one. Arie Luyendyk still the leader. We assume that Buell, because of the penalty, comes up as the 2nd place car. Johnny O'Connell answering the black flag for his penalty. This should be a simple stop and go. It is, and he's out.
Now there's a good young driver, drives at the Bondurant School of Driving as an instructor. He darn sure knows how to be an instructor. He's quite a good race driver. That's going to be the Nissan factory car next year.
Well, now, I don't understand if they gave Johnny got a...
All right, now the update on how they will deal with this penalty is they will take a lap off of Scott Sharp and Robbie Groff during the run here. They have not yet done it on the electronic computerized scoring, but that's certainly the intent, not at the end of the race, as we report.
That'll be a whole lot better, makes sense to everybody, as soon as everybody knows it, and as soon as the electronic scoring picks it up.
And by the way, that's our error of understanding, not what race control said. They intended to do it that way all along.
Even we make mistakes every now and then, Paul.
Well, you know, hey, you certainly have never made one, and I've been proud of you for it.
Thank you.
Don't forget they did the same thing last year in the Indy 500. That finish with Scott Goodyear.
And incidentally, Luyendyk's car has been helped quite a bit. He's running much faster right now.
So Arie Luyendyk has the lead. Is he going on to a win? 143 laps, 144 now complete. Deserving young driver drove a great race. Robbie Buell, as he came across the line, the engine really off song, then suddenly a display of vapor at the back of the car. He's headed for the pits. It's obvious that his day is done. Coming out of the theoretical 2nd place, as they have not yet assessed using the computers the penalty that they say will come against Sharp and Mike Groff. So computer scoring is showing Sharp and Groff in 2nd and 3rd place behind race leader Arie Luyendyk. The reality would seem, though, that the 2nd place car is, in fact, Tony Stewart. And Richie Hearn is in third place, but we still await for the official subtraction of the 1 lap for the 2 A.J. Foyt cars.
Boy, that's a big disappointment for Robbie. He was running well. He had a strong finish going. That's really heartbreaking. He's a good young guy. He's a great driver. Real pity.
Making it very difficult to play, though, because it's not official until we see it come off of the computer screen. Same one that we post at the top of the screen for you. And so right now, as far as official scoring is concerned, Sharp and Groff run second and third.
You can see they're looking down there to see if there's something obvious wrong, like it did a spark plug wire jump off, which doesn't ever happen really, but probably flips a valve. They drop a valve and gets in the piston. That's what causes all that smoke in the back.
He's trying to get unplugged right there. He's signaling to him, come unplug him, get him out of the car. Looks like his day's run.
One of the great young drivers, though, you're going to see a lot out of him. He's struggled to get the proper recognition. And that's one of the things that the IRL says they're going to do for drivers is give guys like Robbie Buell a chance. Now you see Stewart closing on Groff, but in reality, if they assess the penalty, Stewart is the second place.
It makes you wonder about Stewart's pit crew. Do they know what we think that we know? In other words, that Groff's really going to be down a lap. That's what I'm wondering. Tony acts like he's not pushing that hard to try to pass him.
No, did you hear him? It sounded like almost he lifted off there in a dog leg. Didn't take that run at him with all that horsepower.
Because you certainly wouldn't make an attempt or take a chance on somebody, Danny, if you knew that he was down a lap on you. You would just take things as they would come easy.
That's right.
Car in front of you is for position. That is a position.
Well, there's the answer to the crew. I mean, Larry Curry, just talking to Tony Stewart, says that car in front of you is for position, so apparently he's not aware of the potential penalty either.
Maybe that talk that Foyt had with the officials, maybe that's got the officials hesitating just enough.
Well, there's Tony, of course, making that move on what he thinks is a position, and at the moment we think it is.
Well, except that now they're saying that they have, in fact, assessed the 1-lap penalty. They've sorted it back out. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Robbie Buell, it looked like you were in a position to maybe win an IndyCar race, not be on the podium today. I know the disappointment has got to be very acute, but you had a great race car.
Yeah, I mean, what I wanted from this was the top 5 points, and if podium presented itself, great. But I felt the header brake. The car was working great. The Zuni group, you know, they gave me the opportunity to be out here. I just wish it could have been on the podium.
Well, the next stop is Indianapolis, pal. We wish you well.
Well, number 1 there would be real good.
Robbie Buell still manages a smile, Paul.
All right, now, after checking again with race control, here's the way it is. The penalties have, in fact, been assessed. So that puts Arie Luyendyk in the lead of the race. Scott Sharp in second place on the leader lap. Tony Stewart is now 1 lap down in third, followed by Mike Groff. They're on the same lap. Richie Hearn 2 laps down in 5th place, and Johnny O'Connell 3 laps down. There's the rest of the order. So the penalty has, in fact, been assessed, and the running order is now exactly as we've given it to you.
Well, thank God we finally got that settled. We get back to racing again here and know what we're talking about.
Well, and we got to make a comment, too, that Arie Luyendyk sure seems to, those adjustments seems to be working. He seems to be running a lot stronger in traffic. He seems to be holding his own.
He's getting through the traffic good. That made a bigger difference than anything. Look at all that traffic jam.
Going into 1. And
Well,
we've got a problem in the pits, Jack.
No, not a problem, but let's see if I can decipher all of these scoring things.
Johnny Parsons Jr. looks like he was on fire there. Jack's not in that pit, so he couldn't see it. I apologize for that, Jack. And Johnny Parsons came out of the car pretty quick, apparently a fire. Now, you're up, Jack Carew.
Yeah, I was back away from the wall ball trying to decipher this scoring thing. Remember when that caution came out and both Groff and the leader at that time, Scott Sharp, came onto pit road? The caution gave Sharp a lap lead on the rest of the field. Now, when the penalties were assessed, that put Sharp back on the same lap with, at the time, the leader, who turned to be Robbie Groff. Now, that's Robbie Buell. Now, that's all changed. So the standings, the way they show right now, the penalties have indeed been assessed.
Well, that confirms exactly what race control has told us. We're looking at the order the way it is on the track, and there is your leader. There's Johnny Parsons Jr. He's obviously okay. And what happened? He hit the ejection seat after it caught fire.
Everything that everybody's seeing there is not fuel. It's water that they're putting on, which douses an alcohol fire. Everybody's got the water in their pits. Kills an alcohol fire because it just puts it out immediately. Whereas you couldn't do that with gasoline.
Here.
Harry?
Well, here's Johnny Parsons Jr. What happened, JP?
Well, I radioed in. I was coming in. I lost oil pressure. So I just pulled down out of the groove and got in here, and things started happening. I guess we had a bit of a fire and just got out in a hurry. That's about all I know right now.
We've got a problem with Tony Stewart on the racetrack. We'll get to that story in a moment. Bottom line, you're all right, though.
Oh, yeah, we're fine. Yeah, the car was a lot better than it was at Orlando. We just had a few minor problems, extra pit stops, one of those days. But we're looking forward to Indy. We're on the road to Indy. We'll be there.
And an early shower to boot. Thanks, John.
Johnny Parsons from a great racing family. Tony Stewart is staying in there as they try to get it back and try to get it into his pit area. At the same time, at the other end of the pits, they push the now deserted car of Robbie Buell out of the way. Jackaroot?
Well, quite simply, I checked with Larry Curry, and even though Tony Stewart hasn't come out of the car yet, all he said is, she broke.
Well, I think that's going to be somewhat of an indication of Indianapolis. They're still having a bit of problem. They've got the aluminum blocks in there. That could be some of the problems. Not enough development yet.
So Tony Stewart out of the race. Ari Lyondike is still the leader over Scott Sharp. Back in Phoenix, 24 laps to go. Ari Lyondike is the leader over second place Scott Sharp by 9 seconds last pass, but Sharp's been whittling that down, now down to 7.6 seconds. So Sharp very much on a mission here. Only the leader and second place on the leader lap as they work around Stefan Gregoire.
Remember, though, Lyondike's pretty cagey guy, a lot of experience right there.
And we've got to see
he's going to let him get too close without pressure a little bit harder himself.
Yeah, we've got to see how he gets through traffic. That can be that he just got caught behind traffic, and now Scott's got to get through it. His car seemed to have been handling a little better.
Down to 6 seconds right now, though, Danny.
Scott Sharp trying to close in. You know, talk about bucking that trend I mentioned earlier about the leader of the first lap not often winning the race. The leader at the halfway point has won 6 of the last 10 races at Phoenix, and Ari had the lead at the halfway. Jack?
Well, Tony Stewart, the valve train and the Menard seem to let you down.
Yeah, you know, this thing's been running great all weekend, and this is that a new aluminum block motor that Butch and Sonny Meyer developed, and this thing has been like clockwork all weekend. It's just unfortunate that it broke on us at the end.
Now, a year ago, you were getting ready for Eldora, Ohio. Now, this weekend, you're getting ready for Indy. What are you bringing to the Indy 500?
Well, hopefully some more of what we did today. I mean, we showed we can run up front in 2 races, and for those non-believers of the IRL, heck with you guys. This series is for real, and it's here to stay.
Thanks for letting us eavesdrop on you, too. It gave us quite an education.
Thanks a lot.
Dave Kudrave, the 15 car, pulls off on the backstretch, slowed down going into 1, kind of motoring through the parking lot now in his Indy car. Leader of the race, Lyondike, Sharp, 8.2 seconds back.
You know, Kudrave did a nice job on that. And rather than to stop on the track and bring out a yellow and cause the other guys misery for coming up the last of the race, he actually went into the infield, got completely off so a yellow flag wouldn't come out. That's good sportsmanship.
That's great.
Scott Sharp back to 8.1 seconds behind as the leader comes around Al Barretto again, who now runs in 7th place. Remember, he started way back in the field. There you see the leader coming through. We look for 2nd place. Scott Sharp, there he is. Little over a straightaway. Boy, that penalty was devastating for Scott.
7.6 seconds right now. There's Lyondike, the red and white car.
Still think you're going to see that go up and down a little bit with traffic, unless they all get out there a little clean.
Just ahead.
Ari's working traffic.
That's
right
Buzz
there.
Calkins. He runs now in 6th place. And if he stays there, he just may leave here with the points lead going to the Indianapolis 500. Ari just screamed right past him there.
I think Buzz let him go. He realizes he's way down. Buzz is counting points right now. He knows he can't win the race.
Looking for the interval. Is it me or is his Scott Sharp closing in?
6.2 seconds. There's about 1 second that lap. But of course, as Danny says, Ari right there, Ari Leyendyke sometimes catches traffic, loses the second, gets in the clear, gains the second.
See, Sky, we've seen, has a clear track in front of him. He hadn't gotten up under those cars that Ari's passing right now. He's got to get his way around him, and as we said earlier, it's going to depend on how you get through traffic.
And only 15 laps if Scott Sharp wants to make that closure. Third place is Mike Groff. Richie Hearn is in fourth. There's a relationship. Blue and white cars, Scott Sharp.
I've got a monitor, of course, up here, with which a lot of you don't at home, and we're seeing the speeds. Ari's speed's now back about 169 miles an hour, and Scott's 163.
There it is. We'll let them have the monitor, too. Leyendyke versus Sharp on the last lap.
Ari's got more speed right now. I think he's being
but
careful.
Look where Sharp is. He's still moving through this traffic, and I think he's getting some better brakes.
You know, it's not always brakes, Paul. Sometimes the guy does a better job. That guy would like to win the race right there, you know. He's really hustling.
That's a race driver's point of view. He's getting better brakes. Now, Scotty's a good little race driver. Comes out of a road racing background. His father, Bob, also a road racer. In fact, Scott was able to drive his dad's cars only 20 years later to a national championship. Same car that his dad drove. Scott climbed in it, studied for his college classes in between, and then went on to his own national championship.
Still 6.8 seconds behind. The blue and white car right there. Scott Sharps is behind Leyendyke.
Calkins is next in line. There's Leyendyke, about 7 seconds ahead. As he heads for the line, looking back for Scott Sharp. Oh, he's got some crap. That
hurt him a little bit there. That hurt him a little bit. He's only got 10 laps to go. He still hadn't gotten by those other two cars. That's helping. Look, see, it's already jumped up another second. I think that one right there hurt him big time. And don't forget, even if he closes that gap, he's still got to find a way around Ari with only a couple laps to go.
It'd be hard.
That'd be an awful tough deal. Bobby, your car gets awful wide with a couple laps to go while you're leading, doesn't it?
It does. You know, when he's
clearing
running
the traffic now, though, it should be a straight shot to the leader.
Yeah, but when he's running behind the other cars like that, the air is so disturbed from two cars, it really held him up a lot. That was precious time.
Yeah, look at that relationship now. I mean, he's not even in the picture. It's way back. See, he's jumped up 10.6 seconds. That cost him big time in the traffic there.
Not only
there's a slow-moving car he just passed,
but he also he lost the momentum, and it takes a while to get that back. That's Michele Alboreto.
Well, now this could be interesting because if for some reason Michele doesn't make it back or stops on the track, of course, he'll bring out a yellow. But he looks like he's got enough power. He's accelerating now back up. He'll make it to the pits.
Well, that plus, unless it's in a precarious position, within the 10 laps of the finish, they won't go yellow for you. Leyendyke will look for the interval again. Watching up at the top of the screen, come across the line and processes it.
6 laps to go right now.
Yeah, you don't want to be clapping too soon. I don't like to clap until I cross that start-finish line
Scott
with a
Sharp
checkered
picked
flag.
off a little, 9.5 last time he came across the line. The interval Leyendyke to Sharp.
Yeah, but Paul, you know, with 5 laps to go, he's not only got to get there, he's got to catch him and then pass him.
Ari Leyendyke.
Ari has too much experience to mess up right now. The engine may blow, but he won't make a mistake this late.
Last win on the mile at Nazareth in 1991. Ari Leyendyke looking for yet another win of his career. Ron Hemmelgarn, the owners on this car. 4 laps to go.
Don't you know that Jonathan
tracking the
Bird,
interval down to 8.4 seconds.
don't you know that Jonathan Bird is going to be one happy camper here if it keeps going? All of our friends.
Boy, Leyendyke does not look like there's any challenge that is going to make a difference in the final 3 laps of this run.
No, he's running a real good, clean, conservative line. So he's getting out there not near the wall where there's any danger of picking up any debris or anything. Just a real good, clean line.
And Sharp's interval does not change. With 2 to go now. White flag next time by 2 miles. There is Sharp. second place as he comes across the line. And A.J. Foyt's car, Sharp and Groff, run second and third as we run to the finish here. White flag will come out from Dwayne Sweeney next time by. As Ari Luyendyk starts the last mile. Nobody in contest back down the rest of the line. So Ari Luyendyk looks at his fourth win in an IndyCar. And for this road racing trained driver, all of his wins have come on ovals, including the 1990 Indianapolis 500. And there it is. Ari Luyendyk has taken the win here in the Dura-Lube 200. Scott Sharp comes for the line in second place. There he is. Mike Groff will head for the line in third, followed by Richie Hearn, Johnny O'Connell, Buzz Calkins, Stefan Gregoire, Michele Alboreto, Johnny Unser, and Dave Kudrave. 9 cars running at the finish.
Ari did a good job. His chassis was not good today. Hats off to him.
Well, both Ari and the crew did a nice job as they worked themselves back to the lead and took the win. We'll be back to talk with him.
The Indy Racing League's Dura-Lube 200. This ABC Sports exclusive brought to you by Dura-Lube. Increasing your engine's life. Dura-Lube, tomorrow's technology today. Budget car and truck rental. Budget, all the difference in the world. Siemens, for leading-edge technologies in electronic and electrical engineering, depend on Siemens precision thinking. And Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Well, Ari Luyendyk just got a kiss from the biggest man next to Andy Granatelli in victory lane in IndyCar race, Jonathan Bird, Mr. Treadway, and now Ari. 4th IndyCar victory, 1st in IRL, and really sets the stage going to the Indy 500.
Well, this is exactly what my team needed. Fred Treadway and Jonathan Bird here, where you know, we didn't do too well in Orlando. Not many points, but we got double points this time. And I'd just like to thank my crew. They did a hell of a job because it didn't look good in the beginning. The car was really quite a bit off, and it was the last stint where my car came around and everything went fine.
When you've got such a terrible loose condition like you had really through the mid part of the race, how does a driver deal with that?
Well, you just hope that there's a yellow so you can go in the pit and make a change and communicate with the crew. And they found out after the first run that my tire pressures were going up way too high. So we changed the tire pressure, not for the second set, of course, for the third set.
Well, we also understand that you made a selection on a set of tires that you would run just a little bit during practice, and you guys had determined they were a good set of tires.
Oh, yeah. The tire pressure kind of caught us out by surprise, but, you know, the tires are great. The Firestones are working real good for us, and we're happy that, you know, they won the second race in a row in IRL, and also we're still learning about the tires, and I guess today we learned quite a bit about those tire pressures.
Hey, now you've been here before, but Fred, Jonathan, you guys haven't. Describe your feelings for a first trip to victory lane.
Well, it seemed like a 500-mile race there at the end, and it feels really great. And we got a lot of fans, obviously. You know, we're just glad to be here, and we're going to try and do a good month in May.
Now, Jonathan Bird, you said about 50 laps to go that you never realized that a 200-mile race at Phoenix was this long.
I don't remember it ever being this long before, I can tell you that. But this was tremendous. I tell you, new track record, the pole and the win. That's the way to finish a weekend. The Brian Heaney cooling car just did wonderful, and I'd like to thank them for staying with me for 8 years, because this is for these guys. They've been with me a long time. What a great crew. What a great team.
Gary?
Well, here's the man who ends up finishing second, Scott Sharp. I would imagine that you're frustrated because of the penalties that was involved. How much did that cost you? And tell us about trying to come into the pits and what prompted you to come in when those yellow lights were flashing, meaning that the pit road was closed.
Well, first I want to thank God, A.J. Foyt and Canseco. And the team just did a great job. I feel bad. I think we should have won the race. The first pit stop, I didn't come in because I saw the yellow lights blinking at the end of the pit lane, and that meant the pits were closed. Well, a whole bunch of guys pitted, and they came out ahead of us, and we dropped back to 4th or 5th, and I didn't think that was fair. So the next time the caution came out, AJ called me in. I saw the lights blinking. I said, "Are you sure you want me to come in?" He said, "Yeah," and we ended up getting penalized for it. So that doesn't seem very fair to me, but I'm just happy to finish second. We have a whole car, and we're ready to go to Indy.
Did you feel like you had any opportunity in those last 20 miles to chase down Ari Luyendyk, or did you feel like he had you covered?
Well, I thought I had him covered before coming off that yellow, but we just got stuck in traffic. The car seemed to push a bit, and after that, I had about an 8-second penalty, and I couldn't catch up to him.
Thank you, Scott. Jack?
Thanks. Gary, first podium finish for his career for Mike Groff.
Feel good about it. I'll tell you, my thanks goes out to A.J. Foyt and his entire crew. Jeff and Joe, who came in last minute, just like Orlando. Got the call kind of late, and you know, we feel really good about getting up here on the podium. It was great race.
Paul, these guys are going to Indy loaded for bear.
Well, a great attitude despite that penalty. Here are the unofficial final standings of the race. And we'll emphasize unofficial because we're not yet sure where A.J. Foyt is going to figure in this. But as we'll take a look down through the entire final standings, the point made there by Scott Sharp that it was not on the yellow that they came in, but a previous yellow, which helps confirm the video that we had of it, that they saw other cars dumping into a closed pit, and that's certainly going to be where the argument lies, if there's an argument at all. Point standing after 2 races. Well, as we suggested, Buzz Calkins is the leader. Mike Groff steady driving up in second place, and then a 3-way tie. Stewart, O'Connell, and Michele Alboreto. Michele, a nice steady drive throughout the day. So here are the point standings. And, of course, the next stop for the Indy Racing League is the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And as we said at starting, 25 cars have taken the green in the IRL thus far this year. And so 25 positions reserved for those cars, assuming they make the minimum qualifying speed that will be posted in May. Plenty of auto racing upcoming here on ABC Sports. Next week off to the Australian IndyCar Grand Prix, and then Long Beach, Nazareth 200, the Indy 500 time trials on May 11th. That's the run for the pole. Again on May 12th. And then the 80th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race on the 26th of May. Congratulations to Arie Luyendyk. Fought his way back to the lead several times to take the win in the Dura-Lube 200. I'm Paul Page for Danny Sullivan, Bobby Unser, Jack Arute, and Gary Gerald. We now cross the ocean, and we'll see you next week in Surfers Paradise, Australia.